Hello, everybody. Welcome to Wali Wonders. We're here live at Sophus Productions with a brand new, wonderful live stream on near death experiences. And today, it's a very interesting topic. But before we start, let's just quickly recheck if our live stream has started or not. We're live and we're rolling. Thank you guys for everybody who's going to listen to this live stream, who's going to join in live. Do comment, do like, and do subscribe to our channel because that helps us a lot. It's like a free way to support this channel, and you could even ask us a few questions because we usually take live comments and we usually answer, show your comments as well, and we answer whatever you guys want us to answer. And of course, if you have an opinion, you're more than welcome. So today's topic, in the middle of the night, we're here and we want to discuss about the near-death experiences that happen. So what are near-death experiences? Basically, people who die, who have a horrific accident or their heart stops beating because of a cardiac arrest, and people who experience something horrendous and they die. These people experience a near-death experience. These near-death experiences range from like half an hour or a day or two, but usually when the person is dead, what happens is that he is not really dead. His brain is somewhere else. He is in another world, and he's experiencing a lot of things. So let me just give you a little intro video so it's better for you guys to understand the near-death experiences, and then we'll go on and we'll explain what spirituality is, what soul is, and how people do live on. There's something that lives on. This life is like temporary. Maybe we existed before we were born, and we will exist even after we die. So it's said in all of the religions that are all over the world about reincarnation, about near-death experiences, about life after death, about even life before you were born. So let's have a little video to get you guys right on track about near-death experiences.
Every religion and culture on Earth
Earth
has a story of the afterlife. And the more consistent the story, the more likely it is to be true. Most religions and cultures attach a social aspect to the afterlife. Ancient Egyptians believed in Aru, or the Field of Reeds.
That's the one with Kevin Costner in the corn, right?
No, that was Field of Dreams.
Right.
They saw it as
If you build it, they will come.
Could you let me get through this?
Sorry, I couldn't resist the reference. Continue.
Egyptians saw Aru as the perfect world, an idealized version of how we live today. Here your soul was granted eternal paradise, but only if you passed the test. When your soul first leaves your body, Anubis appears beside you. He then guides you from your tomb to wait on the line of souls.
I don't mind saying that after talking with over 1,000 people who have had these experiences, and having experienced many times some of the really baffling and unusual features of these experiences, it has given me great confidence that there is a life after death. As a matter of fact, I must confess to you in all honesty, I have absolutely no doubt on the basis of what my patients have told me that they did get a glimpse of the beyond.
But that would change with a study published in May of this year. A group of scientists measured and mapped the brain activity of dying patients. They proved that after the body shuts down completely, the brain becomes more alive than ever.
So we just heard some introduction about the near-death experience, and it's very important to understand that this was considered as something like mystic and mysticism in the realm of mysticism. But now, with research and with hard evidence, we can see that people are experiencing near-death experiences. And these experiences differ, and they range from being good and bad. Some people, when they have near-death experiences, they go to heaven and they meet angels and they meet their loved ones, and they all of these loved ones have positive messages. But sometimes, when people die and come back to life, they go through what is hell. They see their loved ones that have already passed away being tormented in the depths of hell. So these near-death experiences could be, you could say they could be bad, they could be good. And what do you guys think about the soul? Is the soul a real thing? So all these scientists that have gathered around doing the research believe that there's nothing such as a soul. Soul might be when does soul enter? Is a soul there when the brain has not developed in the mother's womb? When does the soul appear? Does it appear when you come out of your mother's womb? So that's like a really complicated topic. And what the scientists say is that consciousness appears whenever there is like a collection of neurons, and even if you create artificial neurons on like a petri dish and you get them to work, still I don't think there would be consciousness, but some area of science does believe that the human brain is just a collection of neurons interacting with each other in a specific way, which creates consciousness. And that's a question that has been baffling all the scientists and all the philosophers through the ages. So the soul is something different. Did the brain come first or did the body come first? That's also like a huge question that needs to be answered. So what we feel and what we experience is much different than all the matter that exists in this universe. And point being that you can't really see most of the universe. Around 90 odd percent of the universe is invisible to us. We can't see where this matter is, what this matter is. And now through the latest research, we're finding out that we just exist in one realm of reality. There are multiple realms and multiple dimensions. And if any one of us can experience like multiple dimensions and multiple realities, then we would experience this universe to be much different, because there might be intelligent living beings right in this room that I might not see. A religious analogy in Islam is that if God opened your eyes to all these different dimensions, you would see there would be so many intelligent beings that were surrounding you, that you would not be able to even function like you do in normal life. And we hear a lot of ghost stories. We've always heard a lot of ghost stories. And before we dive deep, let's go to a few comments as well. Israr says hello. Thank you, Israr, for being here. Nottingham says hello. Asma is saying, hello, Wali Wonders. Tonight's topic is going to be deep, thought-provoking, near-death experience. So today we're gonna give you a near-death experience. And Rafi is saying, "Thank God I have not had one. Interesting but scary topic." And Rabiana says, "Hi." Hi to you, Rabi, as well. Thank you for being here and listening to our live stream. And guys, do like, share, and subscribe our live stream, because that's like a free way to support our channel and support what we do. And obviously, we love every minute of these live streams. It's a pleasure doing these live streams and explaining all these mysteries. Especially sometimes we're in the middle of the night, like today. And Sana is also here. Sana, thank you for joining us. Sana is a regular, and Sana is saying hi. And today is like this ultimate topic about what happens after you die. That's like the biggest mystery in the world. Maybe death is not the final destination. Death is just, it takes us from this world to another realm. Maybe the consciousness can't be killed. Some people also think that all the consciousness in the universe is one consciousness, and the human body is just a vessel. And when the vessel dies, the consciousness still remains. And that's where near-death experiences come in. And let us, before we go any further, let us share with you a few more videos. So I'll show you a video of this kid. And this kid is an amazing kid. And he, when he was 2 years old, this might be also a story about reincarnation. For all the skeptics out there, we've had evidence, and this is the most reported and the well-documented cases of reincarnation, of there being something. If supposedly you die and there's nothing after that, then how is that your consciousness could stay in the realm of this earth, and some person who is born like 50 years after you can remember the other person's life? And that is just ridiculous. So this kid, he's born, and at the age of 2, he's explaining to his mother, or he's screaming in the night about this plane crash. And he remembers being a pilot in a life that was before he was born. And he remembers this horrific accident. And then the parents start to investigate, because, yeah, the child might be lying, but his tantrums are like out of this world. And they feel like if he's so emotional about something, maybe he might be true. So his parents bring home the history book from World War II, and he exactly remembers where his plane crashed. And when they're looking through the pictures and they see this mountain range and this ocean, and the kid points out, and he exactly remembers his name as the pilot who crashed. He remembers which plane he was flying when he crashed, and it was a traumatic death. So let's just, before I get more deep inside, let's look at the videos so you guys can see this hard evidence of something being there even after a person dies and goes on to another life.
He was saying, airplane crash on fire, little man can't get out. Airplane crash on fire, little man can't get out. That's when I was like, oh my God, is that what he's been dreaming this entire time?
What he was saying wasn't registering as much on me as what he was doing. He was flailing around in bed. And I remember the very specific thought I had at that point. This looks like The Exorcist. He was freaking out. I had this thought, is he possessed? What is going on here?
Within a year, the visions that greeted James in his nightmares began taking shape when he was wide awake.
I was reading to James, and then he sat up and he goes, Mama, the little man's going like this. And he laid down And he goes, and he did the same thing he did in his dream. He's kicking his feet up, and he goes, the little man's going like this. Ooh, 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 can't get out, can't get out. And I sat him back up, and I said, who's the little man? And he goes, me. It still makes my hair stand up. And Bruce said, what happened to your plane? And he said, it crashed on fire. And he said, why did your airplane crash? And he said, it got shot. And Bruce said, who shot your plane? And he went, oh, the Japanese.
James then gave his parents the next uncanny clue, one that was very specific. The name of a ship from which he says his aircraft took off.
So I said, well, did your boat have a name? And he said, Natoma. And I'd never heard the word before. And I went down the hall and got onto the computer and Googled it. And down around hit 300, all there was this thing, Natoma Bay CVE 62. Clicked on it, and up comes this history of a World War II aircraft carrier. And so that was the beginning of what the heck is going on here.
Standing there staring at this picture of this little, it was like an aerial photo of this little aircraft carrier in the water, and we just stood there staring at it for a long time.
I had no answers. How could he know this? How could he know a person? How could he know a ship? And what did all this mean? So that was where I really just said, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know what I'm going to find, but I'm not going to stop looking until I get as many answers as I can get.
This was enough to send Bruce on an investigation, doing his own research. Over the next 2 years, he learned about the men from the Natoma Bay, both living and dead. And James kept giving...
So, can we turn the audio off? So yeah, guys, if can we see the screen as well? Yes. So guys, you've been shown on the screen this picture of this pilot, and how amazing of a story is this, that this kid remembers his past life as a pilot who drowned around World War II, and the Japanese shot the plane down, and he exactly knows the model of the plane. This little kid who doesn't want to grow up and become an astronaut, he doesn't want to become a doctor. From the age of 2, he's fascinated with planes. And it says a lot about your soul and something that exists beyond what we can comprehend in this universe. Could we be the same beings, or could we? The point comes to this, that when these children sometimes they reunite with their former history, yes, they're very fascinated by the early recollections that they're having, and most of these near reincarnation thoughts come before the age of 5, and they might people might hear that these reincarnation thoughts are like, what would I say? It's a little confusing to even explain when you try to explain, but when these kids discover their old former self and they see themselves first, they remember that guy and they remember his name like it was something that he was feeling himself. And then as they grow further apart and they grow up like 10, 12 years, then they start disassociating. So the analogy, the perfect analogy is that the person is not the same person if you take time into consideration. If you take me 15 years back, I'm the same person, but my thoughts and experiences are shared, but my mental framework could be quite different and quite the opposite. And that's really interesting, that if you incarcerate a person on a crime and he is in the prison for like 10 years, 15 years, after 15 years, he might still have that crime on his hand, but he might be a completely transformed person, and he might be like a person who is good to other people, who could never kill a person. So it's the same that we are in a boat and we're going through life, and whatever we're experiencing, we think that it's very important, and everything that we do is going to shape our future. But the reality is that you are not on the driving seat. You're not steering the ship to the left or to the right. The ship is flowing in its own direction, in the direction of the wind, and you are just there experiencing stuff. So question comes is that are we all the same consciousness, and we just come into this life and we say that what I am doing is the most important thing, what I believe is the most important thing, and my God is the real God. But maybe we're all the same, and when we die, we reunite with the same consciousness. So that is like a big question. So Tuba is here, and Tuba says, hello, Wali Wonders. Thank you, Tuba, for being here. Sanali says, I'm one of your biggest fans that never misses a stream. Thank you, Sana. Thank you for being here. Thank you for enjoying our live streams, as always. It's a pleasure having you here. And Sanali says, dude, why do you bring up soul leaving the body topics in the middle of the night? It's a bit scary to discuss these things, but we'll make it as fun as possible. I honestly, when I started the stream, I did wanted to scare a few of my viewers in the middle of the night, talking about soul and talking about ghosts and talking about near-death experiences. So Asma saying, Sana, because it's 3 a.m. when the spirits have the longest Wi-Fi connection. Great comment. Hello, found this channel for the first time right away. Such an amazing topic. Really enjoyed. That is Lexant Company. Thank you, Lexant, for being here. And as always, we also enjoy every bit of these live streams. We appreciate if you leave a comment, if you want us to answer something. We're happy to answer anytime, and like and share and subscribe our channel, because it's a free way to support us. So with that, let's go to the next video. And this video is about DMT. DMT, what is DMT? DMT is a chemical that is present in your brain. DMT is a chemical which is also in the ayahuasca brew, and there's also this toad which has DMT. So when you take DMT, or when DMT is released in your brain, it's like it opens you to another universe, to another parallel dimension, and you can see entities and you can talk to these creatures that could explain you a lot of things about your own self, about the universe. And people also have shared experiences when they take DMT together. And some people also see DMT as a story. And if a person takes one dose, he goes through all of the story. Maybe he dies in the story and then wakes up and experiences this ultimate universe, and he's amongst the stars. And then you also see DMT in the Mayan culture, and it's a way where the ancient people used to talk to these supernatural entities. And it's just an amazing, amazing thing, this DMT. So let's watch a video on DMT, and then I'll explain what happens in the brain and how DMT is responsible for some of these near-death experiences.
It's been suggested that N,N-dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, is released in our brains upon birth and upon death. DMT is a powerful psychedelic. Skeptics say these chemicals likely contribute to NDE's dreamlike quality. But with all due respect to the skeptics, a DMT experience is nothing like an NDE. I know this firsthand. When someone is having a near-death experience, they're very aware of their conscious self. DMT, also called the spirit molecule, detaches you from your ego. It's hard to explain. You feel like you're disconnected from everything and connected to everything at the same time. And by the way, if you're thinking of trying DMT for fun, don't do that. It's not fun. And what about the weight of the human soul? We proved it weighs 21 grams, right? Well, no. Yes. Maybe.
Let's go to another video quickly.
The study involved 4 patients who were in comas and on life support and nearing the end. These patients were chosen because, while they weren't fully brain dead, they were completely unresponsive to any stimuli. There's a scale used to assess a person's level of consciousness after a head injury. It's called the Glasgow Coma Score. These 4 patients had the lowest score possible. All of them had severe brain injuries. With the permission of their families, these 4 people's brains were scanned as they were taken off life support. While in a coma, their brain scans looked like this. The left side of the chart is brainwave frequency. The bottom number indicates the number of seconds left before the patient dies. Red indicates high brain activity, and orange indicates less activity. Then green, then blue is no activity. So a comatose patient on life support has activity mainly at the lower frequencies. This is autonomic motor functions like breathing, heartbeat, and hormone regulation. Basically the things the body does on its own. Consciousness, on the other hand, occurs at higher frequencies. So the patients were taken off life support, and something strange happened that surprised the scientists.
Whoa!
There is a sudden surge in brain activity at the higher frequencies. Remember, the body is now shutting down. The heart and lungs have stopped, but the brain is lighting up. Something is happening to this patient about 10 minutes before brain death. There's suddenly more activity across the entire spectrum, and then for a few seconds, a spike, highly active brain activity. Then the activity settles down again. So it's easy to dismiss this spike as an anomaly. Maybe some randomly firing neurons are freaking out that there's no oxygen getting to the brain anymore. But then this happens.
Whoa!
The patient's entire brain lights up. Very high activity across the spectrum. This patient has been medically dead for 12 or 13 minutes, but their brain is fully alive and engaged. Again, a skeptic might say this is just random neurons desperately clinging to life, but that's not what's happening at all. Only specific parts of the patient's brain were active. The scientists saw activity in their somatosensory cortex and the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex.
Oh my God, that is some scary stuff. Now, you might have been seeing the video, but let me just quickly recap. It's like when you die, your heart shuts off and your lungs shut off and all the blood circulation goes. And this is going to happen when each of us die because these researchers did this research on these coma patients who had no brain activity. And after they died, like their lungs collapsed and their heart ended, 5 minutes after that, the brain activity started to shoot up. And it was shooting up like it was the middle of Times Square. Now imagine when you die, your brain is still alive. When you will die, if your eyes are open, you can actually see the people who are standing around you, who are crying, and you can experience that. And there's this explosion of brain activity because remember, they were doing this research on people who were already brain dead for a little while, and they put MRIs or scanners over them, and they took permission from their families as well, and they said that when you're going to take the person off the life support, because they were living on life support, when you're going to take them off, we're going to see the brain activity through the MRI. And what they find out is that after you pass away, I'm sure a lot of our viewers have seen their loved ones, the older ones, like their granddad or grandmother pass away. And just imagine that there is this thing that happened to them after they died, and it was an explosion of brain activity. What was that? What is the brain thinking about or calculating about? Because there's no heart, there's no lungs. This is such a scary thought. And the brain releases DMT at that moment, and DMT is like associated with our consciousness reaching a different realm of or dimension in which we could talk or listen, and we could see a different universe in which there are so many more sort of intelligent beings. I mean, that is just mind-blowing. So to further enforce my point about there being something there after death or before life, there's this story about this young girl who was in a car accident, and it was a horrific car accident. She almost died, and when she died, for like 15 to 20 minutes, when she died, she saw her brother. Her brother gave her this message that it's not your time, you have to return to the world and you have to sort other people out. And when she returned, she exactly remembered some stuff that was out of this world. And let's just quickly watch her video. She's Emery. And then I'll deep dive further into what is happening.
Emery was a first-year law student who liked fast cars. After lying to her parents and boyfriend about what she was doing, she went out driving with friends. Halfway through the drive, she had a sudden urge to go home. Her friends agreed, but on the way, there was an accident. Emery's body was thrown through the windshield. She got to her feet covered in blood and walked over to where her friends were sitting. She felt like she'd been unconscious and had the strangest dreams. She asked her friends what was happening, but no one would speak. Her parents pulled up a short while later, and even though paramedics tried to stop him, Emery's father was running. She followed his gaze and realized he was running toward a body. She chased after him. He was on his knees sobbing over her. Emery was dead. Between his tears, her father said, "Why are you doing this?" Out of nowhere, a voice replied, "This was the agreement." Emery's father said, "No, it wasn't. The agreement was that I would watch them grow old, but never live to experience this." Emery knew her father wasn't having this conversation out loud. It was happening in his subconscious. He didn't even know he was speaking. It was his soul speaking to someone. The voice started to disappear into a place she couldn't quite see, but Emery knew it was there. She tried to follow it. The voice was so calming and peaceful, but her world was slowly fading to black.
So yeah, we just watched that video, and I mean, this girl, Emery, really experienced something that was so horrific. When people do really have these near-death experiences, they see themselves out of this body. So you might have experienced sometimes, I don't know the exact terminology for this, but sometimes when you're half awake and half asleep, you go into this tunnel vision and you can feel something or someone around you, but although you can see, but you can't move. And you try so hard to move, but you can't move, and you are experiencing this tunnel vision and this grave reality in which you are stuck and you want to move, there's something attacking you, but you can't really move. And that is the sort of tunnel vision. Some people associate it with less oxygen that is coming to the brain, so the brain starts hallucinating. But this is the sort of tunnel vision that comes after a person dies. And then you can leave your body and you can actually watch yourself, your dead body, on the ground or in the hospital. And when you see yourself, you can see other people as well, but you can't really interact with them. Sounds like a plot twist of a Hollywood movie, but really it is something that is so scary that it is hard to imagine. And this is over and over because they've recorded like thousands and thousands of near-death experiences, and most of the stories are similar. And there's also this term, this psychological thing in which some people, even when they're alive, they feel like they're disconnected from their true self, from their inner body. And they feel like sometimes that they're watching themselves from a third person's view. So really begs to the question, do you only have a mind? Are you just a collection of neurons? Or is there something big, some mystery that humans haven't uncovered yet? And some say that the humans, there's tunnels in which the neurons are and in the brain. And some people say that in the tunnels that are in the brain, there is quantum phenomena. And we all know that quantum physics is much beyond what we can understand. And maybe some of the things that you're thinking, some of the conscious things that you're experiencing are not coming just from one neuron talking to another neuron and you going through your memories and experiences. Some things might come from quantum physics, some particles that are not in this universe. And that is also a very scary thing. With the latest research, we found out that most of our thoughts that we think come from the subconscious part of the brain. That is the part of the brain that is not really thinking about things. It might be controlling your heart, controlling your lungs, but your conscious part of the brain is where you experience yourself as a person, and you experience this world, and you experience existence. But all of your thoughts initiate from the subconscious. So there's this big question, really, that are my thoughts even my thoughts? And is the human body just a vessel? Because when you go to theology and mysticism, we find that our body, the human body and the human brain, is just a vessel. And there's a beautiful life after death. Some religions talk about it as heaven and hell. And most religions have this concept of a person doing something good in this life, and then the life after this life, we're happy in a heaven-like place. And some people also do have these horrendous experiences. Let's just watch a clip of a person. Yeah, so this
In reality, there is no such thing as death.
This doctor, he
regained consciousness. I was in an incredible amount of pain. I realized I was awake and they had started surgery, and I couldn't move a muscle and communicate to them because I was under a medically induced paralysis, and praying, "Dear Jesus, please take me, take me, take me, take me." And then all of a sudden, I was pain-free, as if I was floating above my body. And there I am, just feeling this incredible presence of love. I just felt this total sense of peace, that everything was exactly as it should be. And I just started laughing to myself, just so happy and euphoric, certain that God is with me and my prayers are being answered. But then there was this sudden awareness that
that's a really scary thought of you exactly remembering how the surgeons did the surgery on you and watching yourself in a medically induced coma and experiencing something that is just beyond what normal people experience during all their life. So, do you guys really think that there is something as a near-death experience? And why really do people have life-altering experiences when they go through these life-after-death experience? And why? Who is the angel or the devil that is talking to them, telling them about the universe, telling them about everything? Such a fascinating mystery. And amazingly, our science is based on empirical evidence, and you can't measure the brain, you can't measure happiness, you can't detect a ghost or a supernatural being on a detector. So there's some things that there is no empirical evidence for. But those things might be more real. Let's talk about dreams. Sometimes we have dreams that are so realistic and we get so deep inside those dreams that it almost feels like it's actually happening to you. All of us have these nightmares and these dreams, and one time I had this dream that I was on the top of the building and someone threw a cat towards me, and I tried to reach for the cat and tried to grab the cat, but it was too little and it slipped from my hand, and it was such a shocking experience that I was horrified. Even after I woke up, like half an hour, even after waking up, I still could feel the anxiety and the pain. And that is the point. Is this existence or this consciousness like the final thing? Or is this like a dream? Because when we sleep, we're obviously half dead. That's what science is saying. And why do we sleep? Where do we go? Where does our brain go? Because the conscious part of the brain just shuts off. So where are we getting all these dreams? And is it that the dream realm, now we're going into Inception sort of a story. And I'm just saying that if we die and if there is this amazing place after death, and really let's go to Sadhguru with his conversation so we can really delve deep inside what's existence and what's consciousness. So let me just quickly play a video so I can further emphasize my point.
Death. It's life, life and life alone, moving from one dimension to another, another dimension to another. So if I lose one dimension, it looks like that is dead. When we say death, the definition of death on one level is you lost your body. That's what that is. We have a certain type of meditation called shunya. That means shunya literally translates as emptiness. That's not the right translation, but there's no appropriate word in English. So it's emptiness or nothingness. So if you settle down into shunya meditation, it's not near death, it's actually death, but conscious death.
And let's quickly watch another video as well that is related.
This patient's brain, this dead patient's brain, is engaged in highly complicated thought and reasoning as well as physical motion. But what was it? The brain activity wasn't random, it was organized and specific. Scans showed messages were being sent back and forth to the patient's posterior cerebral cortex. Researchers believe this area of the brain is required for conscious perception, visual and sound processing, understanding spoken language, and integrating sensory information and movement. These patterns are almost identical to what we see in healthy brains that are dreaming. This is also a pattern similar to epileptics who have an out-of-body experience. Not only were these patients dead, but they died with brain damage, and there was no brain activity before life support was disconnected. None. But for a few minutes after death, their brains lit up like Times Square. Finally, brain activity slows, and then about 5 minutes later, it completely stops. But for about 3 minutes, this previously comatose, now medically deceased person had an extremely vivid conscious experience and showed no sign of brain damage at all. In their mind, their body was moving. Their senses were engaged. They could smell, they could feel touch. They were seeing and hearing something. They were having a conversation with someone. And that takes us back to the beginning, the big question. Who are they talking to? The study involved…
So, who were they really talking to? Was it just a figment of their own imagination? Or were they really talking to some other soul? Like some of these people are talking to their deceased parents. Some of these people are talking to their deceased brothers and sisters and relatives. And these relatives have a message for them. And where, in which realm do you believe that these people who have deceased for a long time, they still exist, and they're watching the world and the universe, and they're watching their children grow, and they have opinions, and they give you like messages. Sometimes you're on the wrong path, and people, when they have these near-death experiences, they completely transform. Some atheist who had this near-death experience, when he came back, he was totally for there being some God or some spiritual entity that was in charge of the universe. And people become religious after having such near-death experiences. Let's just quickly see a video of a girl who died, and she saw her brother in her near-death experience. And let's see what her brother had to say.
Right here, and he said, you know, Cass, you are not alone, but you are to go back and to create a channel to allow everyone to know that they are not alone. But please remember to remember, that was the key. Remember to remember, you are not alone. And when I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. The same hospital bed I was picturing for 6 months before that, because Jason and I died 6 months apart only. So for me, I woke up, with the only understanding that I just saw Jason. Like, that was the realest thing to me. For me, like the car accident, that wasn't what actually happened. What happened was I went and traveled somewhere, talked to him, had all this stuff download inside of me, and now I'm in this manifestation of the hospital. And so I sat there and I said to myself, you know, I had a very long time to sit, and many moments to sit there and ask myself what happened. So here are the keys. So when I got out of the hospital, the first place that we went was the police station, because we had to go fill out paperwork and we had to go talk to them. And when we walked into the police station, about 8 officers walked up to the desk And I'm like standing there and I'm looking around and my mom's next to me. And they go, "Oh, you're the girl from the accident." And I looked at them and I was like, "Yep, that's me." And they were like, one of the guy goes, "Oh yeah, you definitely should have died." I looked at him and I said, "Yeah, you know what, I probably should have." And one of the other officers goes, "You know, we have got a question though for you that we've been wondering since it all happened." And I was like, "Okay." And they go, "Who's Jason?" And right when they said that, I turned to my mom and I looked at her and she went like this and looked at them and she goes, "Why are you asking her that?" And they go, "Well, you know, when she crashed that car, that I was in a full-blown conversation with someone named Jason. And that when the cops came, they thought that Jason flew out of the car. So they were searching the surrounding area looking for him." I'm sitting there and I'm looking at my mom and she's looking at me and she, you know, starts having tears come down her eyes. And in that moment, I just said to myself, okay, so that's like, it's real. You know, it's realer than I even thought it was real. And they went on to say, because the story that I had told my mom is that when I had seen him, that I was begging him not to leave me, that I was holding on to him for dear life, and that I remembered opening my arms and falling back through the clouds. And then when I woke up, I was in the hospital bed. So they had told me that I was actually holding on to a paramedic, screaming, "Jason, don't leave me," and that I opened my arms and fell back into the gurney. So the same story happened, just with a paramedic and not Jason. But what I...
So yeah, that's like gives me goosebumps. And the girl is saying that she saw her brother after this horrific crash that she had, and she was holding her brother, and she was not letting her go, and she was like, "Jason, Jason, come back." But fortunately, after dying for a few minutes, the doctors rescued her and she recovered fully. But dude, the doctors were like, they were asking her, who is Jason? The police was asking her, "Who's Jason?" Because she was having this full-blown conversation with her brother who had died 6 months before this girl had her accident. So yeah, says a lot about a lot of things, and that is where religion comes as well. Religion is answering the deepest questions that we have, and we humans believe, some of them believe, that there is a life after death, and that's just a leap of faith. I mean, no one can for sure tell you that after you die, there's going to be something over there. But religion says that this life is just a test for us humans. And this is not the real life. This is just like a vivid dream that we're having. And the real life is after this life and our consciousness. God created the soul first and then the body. And our soul was in the heaven. This story of Adam and Eve and how Adam ate the apple and then God threw him to this world. But that's what religion is answering, the deepest questions about our existence, about where we come from, and how the universe evolves. And it's so amazing that the consciousness debate is something that is also a leap of faith, because you can't really measure consciousness. Some say that viruses might be conscious, and some say that humans are what can we say? Let's just quickly watch another video about Dr. Dawn Piper, and then we'll further give you some more evidence on near-death experiences. I mean, this girl, I really get goosebumps, because we've all experienced death, and seeing your brother or sister come to you and explaining you things, and you actually experiencing a guy who is dead, and you're talking to him, and there's something over there I mean, what can I say? Maybe you live in a different realm. Maybe you can't communicate with humans that are on the earth, but you can see them, you can watch them, and maybe like all the ghost stories, the soul keeps on wandering for like a few years. All these ghost stories where there was this person who was killed in a horrendous way, and then the house was haunted, and all the people who go in the house, like for the past 200 years, they die a mysterious death. And I mean, there could be some truth to that, because of all this evidence that we have today about near-death experiences. And there's also this story about this Satan worshipper and this cult. This person was in the Freemason cult, and the Freemasons were doing this ritual, and this guy had like a heart seizure, and he died for like half an hour or something. And that is where he really saw Satan and all the evil and all the killing and all the death and destruction of the world. And Satan, because he was this true believer of this evil entity, and he really believed in this evil entity giving him power, and he believed that if he inflicted pain on other people, and he tortured other people, or he financially ruined other people, he was going to help the Satan. And then when finally, between this ritual, he died and he experienced Satan, he was so scared that immediately after that, he left the Freemasons and he came on television and made this whole documentary about the rituals that these people are doing and how they're worshipping the Satan. And what happens? So let's go to the comments. And Asma Muniz is saying, true, Junaid, the soul is doing more push-ups under stress than gym people ever did. And Sanali is also saying, the soul's on rent, the body, mind at the gym. Stress has put the soul on the treadmill. Looks like even the afterlife is running a fitness test. That's a good comment, Sana. And Junaid is saying, Sana, they are talking to each other. Wahab Butt is here. Thank you, Wahab, for being here, for watching our live streams. We thank you, everybody that is here, that is enjoying these wonderful stories about near-death experiences. Wahab is saying, this video suddenly showed up in the middle of the night and it felt like something was speaking directly to my soul, bro. Yeah. And also this story, this real thing that happened to me recently. I got my cat euthanized, and I had a lot of cats, like 5 cats, and they were with me for like 12 or 13 years, and because of their age, one by one, they started dying. And just a few days ago, I got one of my cat euthanized, and it was such like an experience that you don't think about death like really very often. We don't even give it consideration. But seeing the soul leave the body is like just another experience. I mean, you can actually feel, like in Islam always says that when you die, the soul is snatched from your body, and it's like the most horrific pain. And you do feel like when you see someone die, that there is a soul or there's something that has left the body. I mean, you guys might tell me what you think about death, but that is what I think, because also there's this experiment as well. So scientists put these people who were dying, and they recorded their weight. And as soon as this person died, the body there was 21 grams that went down. So they measured that when the soul leaves your body, the soul weighs like 21 grams. And when the soul leaves your body weight decreases by 21 grams. And they did not just put a single person on the weighing scale while they were dying, they put multiple people. And they had this empirical evidence of the soul leaving the body and 21 grams of weight falling. So that is just something that, I don't know, it makes you think about life and about everything. So with that, let's jump to another video quickly. And this is, let's just quickly see the video.
Sabom interviewed people who'd suffered cardiac arrest, died, and claimed to have had an out-of-body experience, an NDE. These patients were asked to describe their resuscitation. What was happening in the room? Who was there? What sounds did they recall? The patients' answers were compared to those of a control group who had also suffered cardiac crisis and were revived, but without temporary death. Patients in the control group gave vague, mostly incorrect answers. They were guessing what happened to them. They didn't really know. But the NDE group, they described the resuscitations almost perfectly, like they were in the room, separate from their bodies, watching themselves come back to life. The accuracy was enough for Sabom to conduct further studies. And like Raymond Moody, Sabom inspired others to repeat his research. If multiple researchers independently conduct similar or exactly the same experiment, and they all find the same results, then it's hard to refute the truth. This is precisely what happened with Sabom's study. Over the years, researchers have asked thousands of patients to describe events surrounding their NDEs. And despite being dead, these patients are roughly 92 to 97% accurate in their observations. Doctors and nurses have also come forward with some pretty spooky stories. Dr. Carl Green, a neurosurgeon, had a patient flatline and then describe her entire surgery, down to the most intricate details. And Green is not alone. Patients often have out-of-body experiences during surgeries where they temporarily die. This happened to my dad. Almost all...
So, oh my God, I that's like really like something that is haunting, that all these people who had this near-death experience actually were right about 97% of the things that happened after they died. And when they got back to life, because all the doctors tried to do some surgery, or they put them on medical support, and after they recovered, they could exactly remember what everyone was doing around them at the time they were dying. I mean, that's just like could be that the next time I just don't even want to joke about some things like that. So, what would you do if you said something bad about someone who was dying, and they died, and then with some miracle, they woke up, and then now they remember each and everything that every person was doing while this guy was dead, and who was laughing, who was happy. They can also, like the video I showed you earlier, so the girl could even hear her father's thoughts, her father's consciousness. So maybe death is not the end. Death is just the beginning. And death, after death, is the real life where you are exposed to this higher reality, this higher dimension in which consciousness can exist and consciousness can experience other consciousness and it can experience the universe. I mean, most of us do believe in some sort of recreation and reincarnation and life after death. So let's go to another video. And this is, I'll play the video and then I'll explain.
Suddenly, the darkness lifted, and Howard was in a vast hellscape filled with horrors even nightmares couldn't create. There were humanoid-looking monsters ripping him apart.
But were you experiencing pain while this was happening?
Yeah, and it was horrible. It was horrible, literally being torn apart.
Suddenly, the darkness lifted, and Howard was in a vast hellscape filled with horrors even nightmares couldn't create. There were humanoid-looking monsters ripping him apart.
But were you experiencing pain while this was happening?
Yeah, and it was horrible. It was horrible, literally being torn apart.
Howard didn't believe in God. He did as a kid, but grew out of it. But he was desperate and prayed for help. And help arrived. Howard was pulled out of the darkness and into the light. He was shown his life, which was a disappointment and a failure.
Howard, you're watching your life literally as a movie before you?
Absolutely, and not only did I see my life, but I could also see like my mother's feelings and how I hurt her. I never wanted to hurt my mother.
Howard wanted to stay in this place where he felt nothing but kindness, compassion, and love. But he was told he had to go back and make things right. Then his soul returned to his body.
Oh my God. So this guy was like an atheist. He wasn't a believer and he was rude to everyone, especially his mother. And when he was having this near-death experience, he could see how her mother was suffering because of him. There's also this other story about this near-death experience in which there was a person who had this near-death experience and he saw her mother being tormented in hell. And there were creatures ripping her limbs apart. And that was because her mother was not such a nice person and she was involved in some heinous activities. And why do you think that every religion and every culture has the story of a god, has this mystical and spiritual realm? If there's so many religions saying the same thing, and even when you take into consideration Buddhism and their 7 cycle stages of reincarnation and how you can escape this reincarnation, and the Buddha is like thousands of years ago, and then you see some sort of these same things all around the world, like in a Mayan culture, which is like there's no land or sea connection and there's no ships that were over there, and they are talking about a god and they're talking about near-death experiences and life after death. Maybe if I wouldn't wish it upon any of our viewers, but if we experienced these near-death experiences, that would really make us believe that there's something beyond us, beyond this world, beyond what we see and what we feel, and there's a God who is loving, and then there's evil powers who just want to destroy, and that is where the concept of God comes in. So all the religions are saying about it. Obviously the stories have been distorted over thousands of years, and the religions are saying it, and the people are also experiencing all these things when they go through these near-death experiences. They experience this creature or this being or this God or this angel. And also if we look at the Mayan culture, they also took this ayahuasca brew and they did some sacrifice. The story of sacrificing your own children. Now, that might be like a conspiracy, but when we look at Jeffrey Epstein, who just died a few years ago, like 5 years ago, it's all over the news. Kash Patel and everyone is saying that it was a suicide, but this guy had under a ring of a cult of child sex trafficking, and he took all these children to this island, Little James or St. James, and in that island he had this tomb that was built like the Temple of Solomon, and he did all these rituals, and he was involved in abusing so many minor children that it is unbelievable. And the President of the United States was traveling with him. So the story goes that in the Mayan culture, they used to sacrifice little children when they took DMT, and they built all these amazing pyramids. So they took DMT and they stood on the top of the pyramid with the child in front of them. And when they took the DMT, all these evil entities came, and these were big creatures, like 100-foot tall creatures. They came to them and they gave them some knowledge about the universe, about themselves. They told them about their death and about technology and everything. And what these beings require is to sacrifice a child. And then they sacrifice the child, and then the being or the thing that it started talking to them again. So I hope I'm not scaring everybody. So Asma saying, मुझे हमेशा ये सोच के डर लगता है क्या हम जिंदगी जी रहे हैं या सिर्फ डेथ से भाग रहे हैं. Is it possible that ICU patients across 5 events experience something beyond science, something collective or even spiritual? And that is like a really nice comment from Nottingham, because people are experiencing, and there is now hard evidence, and it's not just one case, it's like thousands of cases. Just one doctor recorded like 2,500 cases of near-death experience, and it was something that changed his life forever. So you can't run from death, but giving up on life, is the great defeat. अगर रूह सब कुछ याद रखती तो क्या हमारी हर सोच भी उसके साथ जाती है. रूह ही शायद असल चीज़ है, एंड रूह को अगर आप समझने की कोशिश करो तो शायद दिमाग जो आप जिस जहन में होते हो, जो आपका अगर आपका भेजा कोई खोले और भेजा आपका देखे और दिमाग देखे, तो वो तो सिर्फ एक मसल है, वो तो सिर्फ आपका दिमाग है. क्या दिमाग है या ये जिस्म है जो आप हैं, या एक रूह है जो कि इस दुनिया में है, और वो रूह ही असल सोच है. Mind over matter, that's the debate that is in philosophy, that did mind come first or matter come first. Maybe अगर consciousness ना होती तो universe होती या ना होती मैटर करता, क्योंकि अगर पूरी कायनात है और कोई बंदा नहीं है जो उसको ऑब्जर्व कर सकता है, कोई सुपर नेचुरल एंटिटी या कोई खुदा ऐसा नहीं है जो कायनात के बाहर है, तो फिर कायनात हो या ना हो, अगर कुछ कॉन्शियस ही नहीं है, अगर सारा कुछ पत्थर है, पत्थर तो हमें पता है कि पत्थर के अंदर कोई जान नहीं है, मगर अगर सिर्फ पूरी कायनात है और सिर्फ प्लैनेट्स हैं और कोई ज़िंदा चीज़ नहीं है इस पूरी कायनात में, तो फिर क्या ये मैटर भी करता है, क्या असल में कायनात है भी, क्योंकि एक चीज़ का वहाँ होना इस चीज़ पर डिपेंड करता है कि कोई कॉन्शियस, कोई इंसान, कोई एक एंटिटी उस चीज़ को एक्सपीरियंस कर रही हो. तो दैट इज़ like food for thought. Fahad is like, bro, Nottingham Auto Recovery says, if soul remembers everything, then yes, our thoughts and consciousness likely go with it. The soul carries more than just energy. It holds our true self. Should every one of us experience a glimpse of death at least once in life? Oh my God, Fahad, I hope no one does experience. And Asma saying, maybe yes, Fahad, only because only a glimpse of death can make you understand the value of life. Not everyone gets a glimpse of death, but those who do never take life lightly again. I don't know if Asma has had a bad experience in her life, but yeah, most of the people who witness this near-death experience or witness a crash or a tragedy, when they come back, they do tell you about all these stories about and they're completely transformed, about angels, about demons, about some message that they got, and that message, God gave them that message, and now they're in this world spreading that same message, spreading God's message, because how weird is that as soon as you die, you're like experiencing this other universe apparently instantly, and every time there's like this tunnel vision, and you go through that tunnel vision, and it leads you towards some good place that is a heaven, or it leads you to a bad place that is hell. And then you see, you can talk to certain entities over there, and you see, you hear the message, and you see what you have done wrong with your life, and then you come back as a completely transformed person. So that might be a sign. Maybe we don't need to go through all those near-death experiences. Maybe we can take some sort of advice from all these people who have already experienced such things. And these cases, there are thousands of them all over the internet. Even there are thousands of videos on near-death experiences, people coming on in front of the camera telling about what they felt when they died. So रूह को समझ सकते हैं, इसका इल्म सिर्फ अल्लाह के पास है. And they asked you, O Muhammad, concerning the soul. The soul is the affair of my Lord, and you, mankind, have been given only a knowledge. Oh my. So in Islam, there were people who came to our Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, and they said to Prophet Muhammad that, tell us about the soul. And Muhammad asked this to Jibreel, and Jibreel, through God, gave this message to Jibreel that you don't know about the soul, and stop inquiring so much about the soul, because that is something that God has kept hidden from our reality and our existence. And the soul is something that many ancient civilizations have also tried to understand. Even the Egyptians, they had this mythical creature, the guy who had a dog head, and you had to go through this test after you died, and if you passed this test, you would go to the heaven, and if you failed the test, then there was a beast, a dog-like beast, who would come and rip you apart and kill you. So that's also the story of Anubis. And let's go to another video. I'll try to keep this live stream short because it's like the middle of the night. It's already 3:44. So we'll try to wrap it up today quickly, but let me show you another video.
I don't mind saying that after talking with over 1,000 people who have had these experiences, and having experienced many times some of the really baffling and unusual features of these experiences, it has given me great confidence that there is a life after death. As a matter of fact, I must confess to you in all honesty, I have absolutely no doubt on the basis of what my patients have told me that they did get a glimpse of the beyond.
But that would change with a study published. Almost all NDEs follow a similar pattern. It starts with the sensation of absolute peace and calm as you enter a bright white light. Through the light, you enter a tunnel, and your physical body is left behind. In 1791, British Admiral Sir Francis Beaufort almost drowned. After he was revived, he described a feeling as, in his words, the most perfect tranquility. He felt no bodily pain. His physical senses were gone, but his mind was very active. The Admiral saw his life pass before his eyes in reverse. This is a common theme in NDEs. Your life plays either in reverse chronological order or starts from your birth until your death. Once the show is over, you see yourself completely, really for the first time ever, and then you move on. And on the other side, people are waiting for you. It's been suggested that NN-dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, is released.
I'm Don Piper, and I died on January 18th, 1989.
Don Piper says he was depressed for a long time after he came back to life. But in time, he realized how valuable dying had been to him, to his soul. He felt saved, especially knowing we're never actually alone. But you can't just go and have a near-death experience whenever you want to. An NDE requires a certain type of permission, because not everyone goes into the light. Some people go somewhere else. Emery.
So, that is like some more evidence. I just showed you this guy who's like a doctor, and he's crying, and he was an atheist, and he had this near-death experience. And I also was listening to Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones, and they were also saying, telling that people now, because of technology and because everything is being recorded, so people are experiencing some spiritual stuff. Sometimes people are sleeping in their bed, and when they wake up, they have this huge scar on their chest, like a beast has ripped apart their chest. Sometimes when people are sleeping, they start levitating, and they wake up and they are like 3 feet over their bed. And sometimes there was this famous thing that happened, that a person who had never taken any drugs in his life was traveling through this road between a jungle, and it was a dense forest. And it was a long journey, and he was going, and suddenly when he looked to his left, there was this big beast type of a mythical type of a creature that was sitting right beside him. And he never ever saw any ghost before in his life. And now he's sitting in his car driving alone in the middle of this dense forest, and it's dark, and he's seeing this ghost-like creature sitting right beside him, and he's scared to death. So that's what Tucker and Alex are saying, that there's more to reality. There are so many consciousness existing around us that we can't see. And when you take some mind-altering drugs like DMT, it opens you to these realms and these other dimensions of reality that are just beyond comprehension and just beyond anything that we know. So let me check real quick if I want to show you guys something else. Yes, let's just quickly watch the rest of the pilot story. This pilot story that we started the live stream with was this pilot this kid who, after when he was 2 years old, he remembered his past life as a pilot who flew this plane in World War II, and the Japanese shot the plane down, and he exactly remembered everything. So let's just quickly go through that video, and then I'll conclude this live stream for today, and hopefully it's not so scary for you guys. Hopefully we kept it on a lighter tone. So let's just watch the video.
Giving his parents additional, tantalizing, eerie clues.
Well, I kept asking him, do you remember what your name was? Do you remember what your name was? And he always said James. And I thought, well, he's 2, he's confused. He thinks I'm asking him what his name is.
Then James started drawing.
That was one of my mission things.
The mission thing, you remember that?
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite ones.
The same thing, over and over. Like a movie, compressed all into one frame. An air battle. Flak. A plane on fire. And his signature, James 3.
So one day I was in the kitchen, I was washing dishes, James had breakfast, and he had an airplane, he was just flying around like this, and he goes, Mama, before I was born, I was a pilot, and my airplane got shot in the engine and crashed in the water, and that's how I died. And I was just froze. It was such a bizarre thing to say, but it was just that matter of fact. There was no drama, there was no emotion to it.
At 3, James started pretending to be a pilot, with an attention to detail that astonished his father.
One day he dragged a car seat into the closet in my office, and he set up a little cockpit in there. He had a little play school console, and like it was going to be a cockpit, and he's going back and forth. All of a sudden the door comes flying open, and he comes rolling out of it. I said, James, what happened to you? He says, I said, did you fall? He says, no. He says, my plane got shot and I bailed out.
The next breakthrough came when Bruce was invited to the Natoma Bay Veterans Reunion. He asked about the names of men killed in battle. And this led him to finally solving the mystery of James 3.
He called me on the phone and he said, you won't believe this, there's only one guy from Natoma Bay who was killed during the battle for Iwo Jima, and his name was James M. Houston Jr. And I said, wait, that would make our James 3. I was so excited. I'm like, that's it. I'm like, that's him. It's James M. Houston. His name is James, it's James 3.
James Houston Jr., World War II Navy pilot. At age 21, on March 3, 1945, his plane was shot down over Chichijima. Now, the skeptical parents were sitting on compelling proof that their little boy really was reincarnated.
This plane, the Wildcat, is the plane that James M. Houston crashed in. And he was a test pilot for the Corsair. And he would test fly those off of carriers. The F-18 is the plane I want to fly when I grow up.
Since he was 2, James showed an unusual fascination for military air shows and an uncanny familiarity with vintage aircraft. His parents cautiously made contact with James Houston's only surviving relative, his sister, Anne. At first, she didn't know what to think about the little boy who claimed to be her brother reincarnated. But then, James asked her for a painting that only one person other than her knew existed.
She sent this January 16th, 2006. It says, Dear James, I do hope that this is the picture you asked for. It is the only one of me done by my mother. I am sorry, hectic. I hope you like it. With my love, Annie.
James believed then, as he does now, that it was the dead pilot's soul asking for that picture.
I had asked her for a painting that my past mother had done for her and me. This was in her attic for 50 or so years. My parents and she thought it was crazy that I would know about something like this.
Anne, too, became a believer. And there were other, more chilling connections. James had 3 G.I. Joes he named Billy, Walter, and Leon, names his parents thought were strange for a boy to choose.
Bruce is like, hey, James, what are you going to name your G.I. Joe? And he's just playing. He goes, Walter. And so we were like, Walter? And Bruce goes, how come you named your G.I. Joes Billy, Walter, and Leon? And he goes, because that's who met me when I got to heaven. And it was one of those moments where like the blood drained out of our face, and we just kind of walked backwards. Bruce went in the office, I went in the office, we closed the door. He's in there going through papers like this. I'm like, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? He finds this piece of paper, and he says, Billy Peeler, Walter Devlin, and Leon Connor were all in the same squadron as James Houston.
Oh my, that is like, if I could not scare you, but it's very scary that the child was remembering his previous life, and he remembered these two other people who were within the plane when the plane crashed, and let's just quickly. So Leon, Billy, and Walter were in this plane when the plane crashed, and they united in heaven. And maybe, I don't know, maybe they're Christians and they don't go to heaven, but they united in heaven. And that's this kid who is born like 50 years after this plane crash, this horrific plane crash, remembers not just himself but the other two pilots that were with him. And he remembers this time, the James, the reincarnation of James, or the James that was that the kid was feeling. That James wanted the picture that his mom sketched, the painting that his mom made, and this painting was of him and her sister, and that's the picture that this guy was, the James 3 was finding for the past 50 years, although he was dead. But his soul was wandering around this earth, and it was reincarnated in this little boy who you just saw in the video. And this boy could feel the pain and could feel the agony, and could remember each and every detail. The plane he flew, how the Japanese shot him down. And he would literally in the middle of night wake up screaming, plane down, plane down, plane down. So I mean, that's like... So Maha Baloch is here, and she's saying, hi Vali, where is Shivaji? I once felt something like my soul was leaving my body. I couldn't see myself lying below. And there was such a strange peace, yet hidden within it was fear. I still don't fully understand what it was. Maha, we hope you're fine. And yeah, Shivaji was like a little disrespectful last time. I don't know where Shivaji is, but yeah. And Rizwan Amir is waving. And Momna Wahid is saying, it's late in the night, almost Fajr. Is this really the time to creep everyone out of near-death stuff? Umar is saying, bro. So guys, yeah, we got a little late today because we always get a bit late. But this topic was like a bit scary and a bit on the mystery side. And it's just the starting of the diverse range of topics that we want to cover. And this is just the start of me scaring you. I'm going to show you all these compelling footages and all these great stories that would just blow you off this universe. And we'll keep on doing more mysteries for you. And I always enjoy doing all these live streams, but unfortunately it's the middle of the night and I've been speaking for like the past 1.5 hours. So I think it's time to end this live stream. And I have this question for all my viewers, everyone who will watch the stream. You can comment, what do you think about life after death? What do you think about near-death experiences? Do you think that people, what they experience after death and then they come back, is there something to that, and why are all these thousands of people who have died and come back after death are explaining the same sort of things? And why do we do religion? There's all these religions that are 7 continents across talking about the same thing, about soul, about the body, about us being in this realm, and this is just a temporary phase, and the real life is the life hereafter. I mean, all these questions are just out of this universe. And with that, I'd like to say thank you to all the viewers who have been listening and who will listen to this live stream. Thank you guys for really sticking around and watching, and we love everyone, each individual. And please do like, share, subscribe, and comment, because it's like a free way to really promote our live stream and help. It helps us grow this channel, and it helps us continue doing these amazing live streams that I love. Me personally, I love talking to you guys, explaining all these mysteries. So with that, I like to say peace out, and everybody have a nice night or have a good morning.